would you let us know what is the situation of pandemic in Turkey? Because somehow the travel agent already offer us a travel opportunity to go to Turkey since the Turkish airline already come up and start the flight. So how is the situation over there?
The situation is, it's we have some more patients now. I mean, we have some incidents because in summer it was better than now, but unfortunately because of the winter is coming, because of cold weather worsens the situation in the country, but it's still under control because recently our government, Turkish government, established so many hospitals, very good hospitals for the last 5-6 years, more than 50 hospitals. Each of them has more than 1,000 or 2,000-3,000 bed capacities. Therefore, the situation is quite under control, and there are some small restrictions in the country, but it's okay. I mean, I myself, I had also COVID-19 about 2 months ago, but Alhamdulillah, it was so moderate with my family. We stayed at home. We didn't even go to the hospital, to the doctor, and we just stayed and have some vitamins, and that's all. Alhamdulillah, we are fine now. The situation is quite compared to other European countries.
There is no big problem, the situation over there.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, Alhamdulillah, it's fine. It's fine. But
how about the situation in the Konya?
Konya is better. Konya is also good. Konya is also good. Although all the schools, primary and secondary schools for the pupils, for the children, they are starting to teach online from Monday. From Monday, they had school environment. Now from now on, they are starting online, and also we have also courses online in the university. There are some precautionary actions taken by the government. Alhamdulillah, it's fine, but in winter, this situation, because of cold weather, situation, the government expecting to have some more cases in the country because of winter conditions. Otherwise, in summer, it was quite nice, and everything was nearly a normal life. But now we have some restrictions. Inshallah, soon we are hoping to recover, actually. Inshallah.
Yeah, I see some travel agency already offer traveling to Turkey right now, and somehow there is a winter scenario in some area, Uludag, Istanbul, or somewhere else in Turkey, and it seems the situation of the pandemic in Turkey already under control. What's actually from your side of observation of that?
We have more cases than 1 month ago, and the government, and we are also, we also think that we will have more cases in the coming days, because when the winter comes, it's 5 degrees now outside, only 5 degrees centigrade. Therefore, in winter, in 1 month's time, for example, in many places, including Konya, it will be minus 5, 10 or so. Therefore, there's a correlation, I guess, between the the strength of this virus, and also the weather conditions in summertime, because most of the problems are related. As a friend of mine, he is the chief inspector in the Ministry of Health. He told me that in summer times and in warm environment, if the weather is nice and sunny and warm, blood travels throughout the body very easily. Therefore, most of the problems related to this virus is about blood and blood pressure. Therefore, in the coming days, I'm not really sure, but we will have more cases than now. It will be a little bit worse than now, but you never know. I mean, according to government officials and the ministers, there is no restrictions related to travel restrictions in the country, and all the hotels and hospitality, this business is quite running well at the moment. But I mean, we will wait and see what's going to happen. But in September and in October, the situation was quite well, but we will see what's going to happen next, inshallah. If you are planning to visit, do you have any agenda or schedule? About the time and the dates?
Not yet. I am thinking that after the pandemic already gone, I'm planning to have some kind activity between University of Indonesia and University of Turkey, so we can empower each other. And somehow in the recent days that the need of international cooperation, since the new minister last year, Ministry of Education Indonesia, suggests us to have international cooperation. So it might be, I would like to think that the cooperation between Indonesia and Turkey and Balkan countries, it should be extended. And the second one, not only the university in Turkey, but at the same times we can in search of friendship or any cooperation from Balkan country. So what is your idea, Prof, about these two things?
Yeah, I'm really positive about it, because as we have already talked, there are a lot of opportunities to establish relations, very good relations and cooperative relations between Indonesia, Turkey, and also Balkan countries, because Balkan countries, Kosovo, Macedonia, Bosnia, there are very good universities. Some of them are established by Turkish government. We have some Turkish universities because we have some ancestors in Balkan countries. Turkish people, they speak Turkish and they have very good connections with Turkey. In all these countries, including Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, in all Balkan countries, there are some Turkic nations. Therefore, beside Turkic nations, there are some good universities and some NGOs in Bosnia. For example, about 5 years ago, I had a project, very, very huge project, supported by Turkish government, Prime Minister, and we traveled around all 9 countries in Balkans, and we established very good relations with the NGOs in Konya, in Turkey, and the NGOs, non-governmental organizations in all these countries. Therefore, I mean, all these countries, one step away from European countries, but they have the understanding. We have a common understanding. Although they are near Europe, their minds are quite positive, and they are ready to have to establish relations with Turkey and other, especially Islamic countries. There are, as I said, always good opportunities to facilitate, to get benefit. Therefore, I strongly support your argument or your case, and we will have, and we can have more relations, and very concrete relations in terms of academic support, in terms of publications, in terms of teaching, etc. I mean, very, very good opportunities. We can go ahead, inshallah.
Thank you, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still waiting our friend, participant, colleague to join. In 6 minutes, inshallah, we will start 4 o'clock at Makassar time, or 8 plus for GMT. We give them time to allow for Asar performance, since we are in Makassar, or in the middle time of Indonesia. The Asar time already come up. We will have 2 invited speakers as the keynote speaker, as the first international conference on information technology and environmental management, the AMKOP School of Business. If you already well known of the school, so you already noticed that the school has undergraduate program. Some of the department, such as digital entrepreneurship, and then master degree for we call in Bahasa Magister Management, and then the school already received the permission from the Ministry of Education of Indonesia. It is the PhD or doctorate in management. So feel free to see the website stiaamkop.ac.id for the further information. We will have the 2 keynote speakers for today. One of them, Professor Önder Kutlu from Necmettin Erbakan University of Turkey. And the second one, our colleague, Dr. Silotam Akas from Namdi Azikiwe University of Nigeria. We invite both of them to enhance and to extend our theme of our conference for this year, the changing of business environment in disruption era. And this is the second international conference for this year of the School of Business, AMKOP School of Business. Since every semester, the school has the international conference as the platform for publications, and as a strategic proposal, a strategic planning of the school, that every lectures from the school should have the ID Scopus. It means that at least this year, every lectures at least has 2 publications, and most of our papers for our conference this year come up from our master student. It means that the AMKOP School of Business already introduced the opportunity for the student, even that they are still in the master program, to write and to publish. And among us already joined in the Zoom application, Professor Dr. Önder Kutlu, his expertise in the public administrations, and he will speak with us about the any interdisciplinary correlation between public administration and environment and information technology. Yesterday, we already pay attention to Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa after the opening ceremony of the conference. He speak a lot about the marine coastal area in relate to the information technology and environmental management. I noticed one sentence from the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Jamaluddin Jompa. Then even our expertise is in business or in management, but it is a good opportunity for us to go out from the any kind of only monodiscipline business and management, but it is a good one to correlate our discussion to any kind of the environment or in any kind of information technology, because this is the interdisciplinary era. We will wait, Prof. Under one of the speaker, Dr. Silotam Akas, but we will invite you as the first one. In 1 minute, we will start. Everyone, feel free to fill out the attendance. As the Google form already upload in the chat box. So everyone can fill out the Google form, and the organizing committee will provide the certificate for every session that you join since yesterday. And tomorrow we will have still two sessions. The first one, the presentation from the Colport papers, and the second one before closing ceremony, we will have two. One of them, how to write from Professor Dr. Yahya Ibrahim, and another one we will discuss another keynote speaker, Professor Azrin, will speak about the sustainability in university. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, already we have 4 o'clock in Makassar time. Allow me to start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the first international conference of information technology and environmental management. AMKOP School of Business, especially the graduate program for this semester, invite us to have the collaborations interdisciplinary topic of information technology and environmental management. And for these sessions, the third session of the second day, we invite two colleagues of us. The first one, Professor Dr. Onder Kutlu. He is the professor in the Necmettin Erbakan University of Turkey, another city of the Turkey. If you are well known about Rumi, in Bahasa Indonesia we call it Jalaluddin Rumi. So it is the city of Rumi in Turkey. So in the near future, if we have opportunity to travel to Turkey, so it is a good opportunity to go there, mosque and the city and the scene and the scenario. I already traveled once to Konya, and again the spiritual traveling, how the city and the Rumi is relate each other. And the second one, our colleague from Nigeria, his expertise about dance humanities, and we invite him to speak up about the relation, how the art and humanities going out. Without further ado, we would like to invite for the first keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Onder Kutlu. Time is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, my honorable friend Ismail Suardeveki, and all the participants from Indonesia, maybe some other countries. I am delighted to address you today.
Your mic, sir.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Sorry. Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatüh.
Waalaikumsalam.
I am delighted to address you about my topic to all the distinguished colleagues and friends from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and maybe from some other countries. Before starting, I think I should. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The share screen already come up here, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay, inshallah. I'm going to talk about compact city policies and capacity development in environment and urbanization issues. My aim in selecting this topic is to address and first of all explain the changing nature of urban as well as developing improvement capacity it holds. Secondly, to understand the tendency in urbanization initiatives, in different initiatives, especially one proposed by OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, and European Union, which is compact city policy. And thirdly, to understand the bearings of new nature by urban areas and the effects on environmental issues. There is a growing expectation among the students and the scholars of environment that the concept of urban, concept of human livings need to be explained, especially to cover all the complicated issues and problems surrounding cities related to environment and human settlements. As we are all aware, there are more than 3 billion people live in some forms of urban areas. But unfortunately, there is no common definition or understanding of what these urban areas are. Therefore, the OECD, the new OECD classification, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, they developed with the European Commission, and European member countries to identify urban areas more than city boundaries as integrated labor market areas. Secondly, it is applied to the areas of different size, small urban, medium urban areas, metropolitan and large metropolitan areas. Thirdly, it allows comparisons among different forms that urbanization, especially densely populated centers and their hinterlands, and to understand what these concepts and what these areas mean for the inhabitants, dwellers of cities, dwellers of metropolitan areas. When you look at the old and new forms of human settlements, when you look at on the left hand side, this is Korea, South Korea. On the left hand side, according to old measurement methods, there are 3 large metropolitan regions, but according to new measurement methods, there are 45 functional urban areas of different sizes. Therefore, this new classification to establish compact city environment has many bearings and many things to concentrate on, because this is not only splitting up all the old large metropolitan areas, but also to have some functional, to have some environmental, to have some economical and social aspects, which I am going to explain now. When you look at all the OECD countries, I took it as an example. When you look at the countries, Korea has the largest metropolitan areas, though Luxembourg has the least size or smallest size of metropolitan areas. Therefore, all these countries, they differ according to their urbanization choices. According to, I mean, I say choices, but in many cases, it's not a choice, but a requirement by the conditions imposed by every country's local, regional, and national expectations and choices. Therefore, all these areas, from small urban areas to large metropolitan areas, when you look at the figures, you see that I mean, some countries, they, for example, Denmark, although it's a small country, they choose to have large metropolitan areas. Yeah, this is the situation. Secondly, when you look at the population, you see that, yeah, just to make it, yeah, a little bit, although it's smaller, but you know, yeah. 48% of the OECD population live in the 264 urban areas with a population of at least 500,000, and these areas account for the 53% of OECD GDP. Therefore, when you look at in different parts in Asia, North America, Europe, and OECD is about average of situation, because when you look at Asia, for example, population and GDP go hand by hand, but you see you have larger metropolitan areas in Asia countries. Besides, urban population keeps growing, particularly in the hinterlands of large metropolitan areas, because so many people, they live near metropolitan areas, in the hinterlands of large metropolitan areas, but they have to travel long distances to go their works, go their businesses in the metropolitan areas because of some living conditions, rents, and the cost in larger areas. They choose to live near large metropolitan areas. Thirdly, the most dynamic metro areas are, maybe I should, because, yeah, in some parts you cannot see, therefore I try to, but this might be better than the, yeah. When you look at the annual average GDP per capita growth and annual average population growth rates, these are the cities around the world. They are located in different aspects, because on the left-hand side, upper left, one city from Centro, near 6% GDP growth rate, but in the medium they have large metropolitan areas because of living conditions and the opportunities provided by these large cities. But there are some challenges to explain, to introduce a compact city approach, because it is always difficult to adopt a new definition of urban areas to all countries, because there are not enough data available. Secondly, develop more indicators with the new definition. Data availability is also a challenge, it's a problem. And third challenge is it is difficult to apply to policy analysis because of the gap between the new definition and the unit of policy. Therefore, it is quite challenging to apply compact city approach, especially in old and traditional cities and metropolitan areas. I mean, it requires so much financial resources to restructure cities, because people have already settled and it's not enough available resources to apply all these approaches. So moving on to the compact city policies, it's an application of the new urban definition. Therefore, these 5 aspects need to be outlined in the presentation to better understand what this compact city approach is, and also what kinds of benefits it can bring to the lives of individuals and to the business of government officials. It is to better understand the compact city concept and implications of it on today's urban contexts, and also to better understand potential outcomes, particularly in the terms of green belt, green city growth, and to develop indicators to monitor compact cities, to examine current compact city practices in the world, and to propose key compact city strategies. So, what's compact city? There are in 3 aspects. For example, the first one is dense and proximate development patterns. In this aspect, urban land is intensively utilized in compact cities. Urban agglomerations are contiguous or close together. Distinct border between urban and rural land use, and the public spaces are secured. Secondly, urban areas linked by public transport systems, effective use of urban land. Public transport systems facilitate mobility in urban areas, and also accessibility to local services and jobs. Land use is mixed. Most residents have access to local services either on foot or using public transport nearby. These 13 aspects, they are interrelated to compact cities. First, one of them is in compact cities, you talk about short distances, reduced pollution, car dependency is lower, encouraging cycling, social interactions, high density, encourage walking, accessibility, efficient public transport, well-organized urban infrastructure, mixed land use, services, and facilities. Therefore, all these aspects, they are interrelated to each other, especially in the forms of compact city. Key urban trends, drivers for complexity. What are the motivations to apply complexity approach? The first is urbanization and the increasing need to conserve land resources, the threat of climate change to these cities, the rise in energy prices, the challenge of sustainable economic growth, and the demographic trend, especially declining population in many countries, aging and smaller households in cities. When you look at also the situation in the OECD countries, I guess it's a kind of indicator that in the rest of the world there are similar tendencies. In OECD countries, for example, they have, according to a proportion of the land use is consumed as a faster rate. And in 1950, when you look at the position in 1950, from 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 and 2010, there is an increasing increasing speed and increasing increasing amount of land consumption in all these countries. It's a kind of environmental problem because the world needs to tackle with the land use problem. But on the other hand, population growth is declining in so many countries. In Korea, Czech Republic, and Slovenia, for example, there is no population growth. But in the right-hand side, Turkey, Ireland, Israel, Luxembourg, they have positive, at least positive growth of population. But on the other hand, in Poland, Japan, Estonia, in all these countries, there's negative growth in terms of population. Therefore, all these countries, OECD countries, it's a kind of indicator that in so many countries, there is the problem of negative growth in many countries, or smaller rates of population growth. Energy prices are going up on the other side. When you look at the types of energy, coal, electricity, oil products, and total amounts, from 1990 to 2010, for example, electricity consumption fall a little bit, and later on they have the same levels. But on the other hand, coal, for example, consumption of coal is getting mucher in many countries. And also, average household size is getting smaller, more demand for smaller houses. It means more demand for smaller houses. When you look at, for example, in Germany, for example, in 2008, only 2 people they use the same house. But on the other hand, in Korea, in 1980, about 4.5 people they were sharing the house, but at the moment it is about 2.5. So getting smaller. How our average household sizes are getting smaller. It means you need more houses. You need smaller but more houses for the inhabitants of cities. And also urban living, percentage of 1-person households. For example, in Sweden, more than 45% of the people, I mean, only one person lives in a house. So in Spain, it used to be 7-8%, now about 15%. So in all these countries, they differ. In Finland, for example, about 40% of the population, they live, I mean, single person live in a house. It's a kind of problematic as well. Moving on to the contribution of the compact city to urban sustainability, there are some opportunities, there are some characteristics of the compact city to facilitate the understanding and the advantages they provide benefits for the human beings. For example, in shorter intra-urban travel distances, it means environmental benefits, fewer carbon dioxide emission, less pollution from automobiles, and social benefits, greater accessibility to the lower cost, and also economic benefits, higher production capacities, and less travel time for going business for their jobs. Less automobile dependency means fewer carbon dioxide emission, less pollution from automobiles, and lower transport cost, higher mobility for people without access to a car, improved human health due to more cycling and walking, development of new technologies. And the third aspect is more district-wide energy utilization and local energy generation, means less energy consumption per capita, as well as fewer carbon dioxide emission, and development of new jobs and technology, more energy resources, optimum use of land resources, and more opportunity for urban-rural linkage, conservation of farmlands and natural biodiversity, less carbon dioxide emission due to the shorter food travel mileage, higher quality of life due to the more recreational activity, rural economical developments in agriculture and other aspects. More efficient public service delivery means public service level for social welfare maintained by improved efficiency, lower infrastructure costs of maintenance, better access to a diversity of local services and jobs. It means higher quality of life due to the access to local services, skilled labor force, and quality of life, and etc. As you see from the table, I mean, all these 1, 2, 3, or 6 aspects on the left-hand side, they establish environmental, social, and economic benefits for the cities and for their inhabitants. Therefore, compact city means optimum sized cities rather than small or larger metropolitan areas. They better address the needs of local inhabitants because of smaller proximity, smaller distances, and people, if the people they can find their needs in the short distance, they have better quality of life as well as less economical costs and providing better environmental benefits. So it means, as I already mentioned, compact cities, they have the potential to provide lower expenditure on public services because, as you see from the graph, smaller and optimum sized cities, cost and benefit balance are quite reasonable. And when you go larger metropolitan areas and larger than the needs of human beings, or smaller than the human beings, in both aspects, they have higher expenditure on public services. Therefore, cities and the countries, they have to find to accommodate the needs of human beings and at the same time the needs of environment, social and economical aspects. And when you look at the vocability, I mean, in OECD countries, in some countries, in short, I can say that it's always beneficial for the cities to allocate resources according to smaller and less and walking distances. This is quite important. Moving on to the measuring the complexity approach, the effects of performance of compact cities, there are some indicators related to compactness and then category and indicators. When you look at, for example, dense and proximate development patterns, they can have the indicators to have population and urban land growth, for example, population density on urban land, retrofitting existing urban land, intensive use of buildings, housing form, trip distance, and urban land and cover. Because this is quite important, because measuring and at the same time providing some performance indicators for complexity is always important because of testing the standards they provide for human beings. Secondly, urban areas linked by public transport systems, accessibility to local services and jobs. It is related to trips using public transport, proximity in public transport, matching jobs, existing local services and homes, proximity to local services, trips on foot and by bicycle. Environmental aspect category, public space and green areas, transport energy use, residential energy use. Social aspects, affordability, and economic aspect, public services. All these aspects are the problems of human beings today. So, moving on to the population and urban land growth rate from 2000 and 2016. These are some cities around the world. They are related to annual average urban and growth rates and annual average population growth rate. You see the tendency, especially the density in 0.5% and 1% area in this area. So there are a kind of density in these areas. Population density on urban land. These are some major cities in the United States. They differ according to in urban land based on landscape, New York, Los Angeles, and all these cities, the density and the urban use are interconnected to each other. Okay. Urban land cover as an indicator of urban development patterns. When you look at the two cities, Athens and Atlanta in the United States and in Greece, you see the different development, different types of developments in the two cities. When you look at Athens, for example, there's a kind of intensive use of land in a small distance, but in Atlanta, people that they spread around the city, and therefore they might have better opportunities for them to needs to meet the environmental needs, social and economical needs, which are quite suppressing at the moment. Density map, Portland and Vancouver, these two cities, when you check maximum, in Portland, for example, maximum 35,524 population per kilometer. In Vancouver, 11,413 population per square kilometer. There are different types of land use and intense population in the two. Okay. When you look at the density grading in Portland and Vancouver, you see the differences, which I have already explained. Okay. Population in the two, these are quite important as well. Population near transportation facilities. In Toyama, for example, in one city, within railway services, up to 800 meters, 29.8% of the population, they live in 800 meters near the railway station. 63.7%, they within bus services within 400 meters, and within bus services 800 meters, more than this amount. So these are the facilities for the city dwellers or urban people living in urban areas to facilitate their lives, because they live nearby a public transport. Therefore, it means that they can travel work with small disturbances and small loss of time, because it is still within the limits of walking distance. So when you look at the local services and homes, they are also interconnected, because local people, if people they can find local services within walking distances or in small disturbance, it means that all these cities they are more convenient for living, especially in larger metropolitan areas, because the time to travel work, the time to buy their needs consume much of the human beings in that area. Therefore, time is important, as well as environmental factors and social and economical factors. When you look at the policy practices in compact cities, there are regulatory and informative aspects, fiscal aspect, and also public importance for a partnership. Regulatory impacts, master plans with explicit complexity goals and instruments, urban design guidelines, urban growth boundary, urban containment boundary, green belt, establishment of green belts in cities, urban service boundary, agricultural natural land reserve, minimum density requirement, mixed use requirement, restrictions on greenfield development, and restricting locational facilities causing high trip frequency. Moving on to the financial aspect, taxation of under density, congestion charge, congestion fee, which are applied in so many metropolitan cities, especially in London and in New York, etc., to prevent congestion, in traffic congestion, subsidies for density, tax incentives for promoting developments near transport stations, location-efficient mortgage, spill rate, property tax, etc. On all these aspects, as you see from the slide, these are policy practices in use. They can be facilitated to establish better complexity approaches. There are 5 key policy strategies to establish these. First of all, set explicit compact city goals. Secondly, encourage dense and proximate development, which are, for example, related to first aspect, establish a national urban policy framework that includes all urban environmental policies, encourage metropolitan-wide strategic planning. Secondly, encourage dense and proximate development, increase effectiveness of regulatory tools, target impact compact urban development in greenfield areas, set minimum density requirements for new development, establish mechanisms to reconcile conflicts of interest, strengthen urban-rural linkage. Retrofit existing built-up areas, enhance diversity and quality of life, minimize adverse negative effects. All these aspects, 5 key policy strategies, they have to be fulfilled, to be carried out, to be able to establish better urban life for the people living in urban areas, especially in environmental, social, and economical aspects. Moving on to the key governance strategies, there are 4 strategies to establish compact cities. First of all, a vision to establish region-wide integrated long-term policies. Secondly, articulate the roles and responsibilities of all key actors and stakeholders. And thirdly, vertical and horizontal coordination. Fourthly, accountability, transparency, and reporting. These 4 aspects, they are key governance strategies to establish compact cities. The cities which provide goods and services for city dwellers, city inhabitants, to be able to have smaller costs and much benefit for the people living in the cities. This is the second part of the presentation, but I try to explain what kind of studies and evaluations to be done before establishing or after establishing these aspects, but I'm not going to continue from that because all these aspects I stopped in the first part because of time restrictions. I think we are going to have some questions from the audience. Therefore, this is institutional capacity is quite influential and quite fashionable policy. Therefore, I myself carried out so many institutional capacity development studies in Turkish local government and in Turkish Ministry of Interior. Therefore, institutional capacity studies, I put this institutional capacity issue on my slides, but I'm not going to continue because first part is, I think, is enough. If I have more time, I will continue, but just leave it aside. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the time being. If you have questions related to compact city approach, which has been produced and promoted by OECD, Organization of Economic Development and Cooperation, and also European Union. It's a kind of vehicle. It has also been adopted by United Nations, especially the UNDP program, United Nations Development Program. It's a kind of solution for the countries which are affected environmentally, socially, and economically, especially in larger metropolitan areas. Therefore, okay, if you have kind of questions, I will try to answer your questions.
Thank you, Prof. Onder. Ladies and gentlemen, we already listened to the presentation of Prof. Onder Kutu, but if you have any questions, hold on please. We have the second invited speaker as the keynote speaker of these sessions. We have our colleague from Nigeria, Dr. Selotam Akas from Ninamde Azikiwe University of Nigeria. So Dr. Akas already joined with us in the Zoom application. Time is yours, Dr. Akas.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it is clear right here.
Okay. First of all, I want to say big thank you to Pierre for that wonderful lecture. Okay, I want to say big thank you for this wonderful conference. I'm from Nigeria. I'm going to look at information and environment from my own perspective as a dancer. Okay, I'm going to look at it from a different angle. That's why I titled my paper "The Dancer and Environmental Management." Okay, as a dancer is somebody everybody will love to appreciate or say because of the communicative movement, where he or she is doing. But when it comes to information technology, and data environmental management, the role of a dancer changes a little bit. It goes from what we used to know to what we Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Even that
Okay.
somehow the network bandwidth is slow, but we still can hear you.
Okay, so we're looking at the dancer and the environmental management. We're trying to look at the essence of a dancer and his or her ability to manage the environment. Okay, I will always say when it comes to dance, people think that dancers are just there to entertain and make people happy. But based on information, technology, and beyond, it goes beyond entertainment. Beyond entertainment, it says that there are some things that a dancer needs to take into consideration for him or her to be able to manage the information technology. Well, as a dancer, you need to be observant, to be very, very observant. Because in communicating dance, you don't just dance because you want to dance. You dance because you want to understand what is happening in the environment. You want to understand how the people feel. You want to understand what they are passing through. What an everyday person will see and pass as an ordinary person, as a choir dancer, you will just pass. You will sit, wait, and observe. For example, from Nigeria, we have a lot of incidents that is happening in Nigeria. The last one that just happened with the issue of EdSARS and police brutality and the rest of them. Beyond that protest, those in the dance profession, those that see dance as a scholarship, begin to understand, to begin to analyze what gave rise to such protest. Why people were able to conquer in Nigeria during that protest is because there is no leader. This is the first time that youths are doing something, and you cannot be saying that this is a leader or somebody you can settle and give him money and the rest of them to tell others to do. So basically, we're going to the next one, which has to do with the issue of hello. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay.
The sound is clear right here.
Okay. After that, we are going to the next one that has to do with being identified. So you must be identified as a member of that community. Remember, even in playwriting, even in anything, in literature, whichever one, no playwright, no person communicate out of what is happening within the environment. You must be someone that people can be identified with. You know, here in Nigeria, the youth are lamenting that they are tired of people who cannot even surf the internet and know what is happening. Those who cannot even understand what they pass through day by day. So you must be identified, you must live with the community. And once you live in the community, you understand what they are passing through. Ability for you to understand what they're passing through is also a big plus as a dancer based on information management. Then once you move away from that, you begin to understand people's psychology. Psychology is also a very indispensable thing that we cannot do without. If I do this thing as a means of history, I'm not just going there to entertain the audience, you are going there to work on their psychology. Dance and drama is something that is very simple, but in the minute situation of being simple, you can touch the heart of people. So the psychology of the people matters a lot. How do they feel? I'm going to pass this information across today. Is it their story? Is it what they're passing through? Can they be identified with it? You cannot bring what is happening in Indonesia, for example, and impose it on people here in Nigeria. It becomes a cultural difference. It creates a very cultural barrier. People begin to see you as a dance choreographer, whether you understand what you are doing as a performer. Then once you're done, once you pull out from that, based on information technology, we go look at the audience. What type of audience do you have in mind? Who are you trying to pass this information across to? You cannot take what is happening in the university environment and take it down to somebody who is inside market and maybe anywhere with the university setting. No, the audience matters a lot. What do they have in mind? What message you want to pass across to them? Ability for you to understand the audience you have in mind to pass across to, make the information dissemination ability very useful. Once you understand your environment, the audience, then you begin to know how to structure your message. You begin to know how to pass those things you have gathered and how to get across to them. Nigeria was able to stop such brutality, police, NSAS, and that of police brutality because of the audience, the youth, were able to march out, to leave the comfort zone, to leave their houses, to leave everything they're used to come out and say enough is enough. Yeah. Now, at this point in time, people are beginning to wonder if this set of youth, now the audience, based on information dissemination, if they can leave the comfort of their house and march the whole streets of Nigeria to say enough is enough, the tired of police trying to beat them, trying to check their phones and the rest of them, that they want the government to do something. So with that, the real information is there. Remember, we always have this slogan that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. So those who we see as the leaders of tomorrow are now trying to use the information ability to say enough is enough. That is what the dancer is going to put into consideration if he wants to make use of the information technology to pass any message across. The last but not the least on information technology. A very good choreographer, a very good dancer must be able to verify every message he or she has in front of him. You can't just say because they said or because somebody said. That is why I say you must be identified. You must be a member of that community. So verify every message that they said somebody is bad. So because of that, you want to take a performance to the stage, either as a dancer or as an actor, to tell the audience that the person is bad. Why, in a nutshell, you didn't do your research well. So that is where the information verification comes into play. Verify every information. Once you do your research well and you have the concrete message to pass across, ladies and gentlemen, you can now hit your audience and tell them what you want to them, what you want to tell them. Then we're moving over to the issue of environmental management. Without the environment, the dancer is useless. Without the environment, a dancer cannot do anything because even when you are performing in a very specified space where you will use to pass your message across to the audience. So if you come to the environment, the first thing you need to know is this environment I am. What is their cosmology? What is their belief system? How are they being protected? What do they believe in? You can't just from anywhere and walk into a community because they believe in one thing, you don't even know what they believe in. You begin to accuse them that what they're doing is bad. Maybe what they're doing to you is bad, but to them, it helps to protect their environment. So for us to survive based on environmental management, anywhere you are as a dancer, as a choreographer, whichever story you want to tell, you first of all understand the environmental belief system of those people. What are those belief systems? What do they believe in? How do they reason? What is their mode of dressing and everything? If you can understand that one, it will go a long way to help you to work on your story based on the issue of what environment. Then, once you move out again, you begin to look at the people you want to tell their story. Are they welcoming? There are some people that they don't even want their stories to be told at all. They don't even want anybody to know how they live. There are some parts of community in my country called Nigeria that they are still new. They don't wear clothes till today. So imagine in such environment, you want to tell their story. You want to project to the outside world. Maybe they still unify themselves with today. So you're a storyteller. So you're a choreographer. Your body is a means of communication. But for them, they don't see it as that. They see it as you're trying to infringe into their rights, into their legal rights as human, and also into their legal rights based on their environmental control. So once you look at that, you begin to understand, if I tell such a story, will they welcome me? Will they see it as if I'm trying to do something nice to them? Will they value the story I want to tell them? So that is where people's perception matters a lot in environment. Then based on environmental management too, you can't just wake up, no matter how creative you are, and begin to tell your story. No. Whichever story you want to tell, whichever message you want to pass across, whichever corrective measure you want to use, using the dancer's body, you must, first of all, identify with your particular community. For those in postgraduate, we always call it, you cannot write a project or thesis without having a case study. The supervisor will always tell you, please, we want to know where you want to situate this study. What is propelling you? What is the lacuna you want to cover? That is exactly what we are looking at when it comes to environment. Which particular place do you want to look at? Which particular story do you want to tell? You have different environmental stories to tell. You have those who still do bush burning to today. You have those who don't even, like, there was a time in my country, sorry, for are you hearing me, sir? Hello. Hello.
Go ahead, sir. The sound
Okay, sir.
is
Okay,
clear
okay.
right here.
But can you hear me? Okay, so there are so many environmental issues to look at. That is what we're going to look at. You cannot just wake up and tell your story because you want to tell the story. We have people in my community, in my country. There are people who still live, sorry, I'm going to say this, who still live their various houses where they are so supposed to stay and desinfecate, maybe go to toilet and the rest of them. They still look for bushes, they still look for any environment they see, just to deposit it and go. At a point, my government, they were not comfortable with it. They saw it as a disturbing, that is an eyesore to the communities involved and also to the country in general. So this issue of mobile toilets came into play. That no matter how pressed you are, you must first of all locate a particular mobile toilet somewhere and go there and ease yourself. So these are the things people are going to look at when it comes to environmental management. You're not coming to you're not coming to tell them that what they are doing is bad. Before you criticize somebody of doing something bad, first of all, you give such person, no matter who, no matter the gender, the best way or the better way before you criticize. Then once you move that again, you begin to uncheck if there is if those people in that environment appreciate themselves. In environmental management, people don't even know that what they're doing is bad. To them, they see everything as being in the right frame of mind. So these are the things that you're going to look at. But this time around, they're not going to use the verbal language. They're not going to use conference the way we're doing conference now. They're not going to use town cry. You're going to use dance. In that dance now, whichever movement you make, the people involved will be able to identify where you're coming from. The people involved will be able to see a reflection of themselves in the story you want to pass across. If they cannot see a reflection of themselves, that means you're not going anywhere. And for them to be able to see a reflection of themselves, there are three things you need to put into consideration when it comes to environmental to manage the information you have. There are people maybe because they don't have it, they don't like a particular person, maybe they're not so happy with the government. That to them they feel the government is killing them, they feel the government is not treating them well. So they have the license to tell you any story. But as a researcher and also as a choreographer, it's not meant for you to go back into the comfort of your sitting room, your study, whichever one, and sit down to begin to see those information. Those information, you manage them in a way that nobody will think you are trying to antagonize him or her, or nobody will think you are trying to be too personal. But rather, you're trying to manage the information you have based on environmental management to pass the ideal message across. Not when you are doing a performance. After the performance, Black Maria or the police are waiting for you. So from the performance arena, you're going straight to jail. So that's not what we need to, what any performer or any choreographer want to experience. Then the next thing we're going to look at the process control system. How do we control it? This time around is environment. It has to do with people. Remember, there is this adage that says people tend to remember more what they see than what they have read. Now you're going to, how do you control this system? Some would like to be part of the performance because when it comes to dance, we have dance alone for those who are coming with professionals, and also we have a choreographed dance with the community. Now you're going to use the community members to tell the story. But this time around, you're going to manage them. Remember, I said working on people's psychology. You're going to manage them. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. You're going to manage them for them to understand what is happening. Now, the idea this time around, they're not coming on stage because they want to perform. They're not coming on stage because they want to do their indigenous performance, or maybe coming on stage because they want to show us how flexible they are. But they're coming on stage as storytellers. They're coming on stage as social crusaders. They're coming on stage as people who want to make a difference. But if you don't manage them well, some might get there, begin to get too sentimental, or begin to be a little bit too personal, leaving the core message you want to pass across. So in environmental management, you begin to manage them to understand that they are here as communicators who want to talk because they want to talk. So these are the things we are looking at. Then after that again, we're going to look at decision support system. In decision support system, when it has to do with environmental management, you are looking at, you have said something, you have the information to manage, you have the crowd to control. Now, how do you take the decision? There are some decisions you will take, no matter how you want to pass the information across, it becomes a little bit dicey. And the part of the people involved, you as a choreographer, and also those who is governing them, or whichever person the message is meant for. So you're going to use your understanding as a scholar, understanding as a researcher, to know how to guide people in some decision. For example, I'm just trying to give example. So we tell you they don't like your president. You know, the way they say it in my country, they don't like him, they are ready to do this, kill him and the rest of them. This is people's perception. This is how they feel. But as a researcher, you cannot go on stage and begin to tell them that this is what they said. So that means there's no difference in between you and them. You know, Aristotle will say the what differentiates us between no animal and human beings, the ability for us to have a critical reasoning, freedom of speech, and also ability to choose whether to be or not to be. So these are the things we're looking at. If you can able to give them decision support, tell them how to manage themselves, then we now begin to know that the environment, even though that things are not moving on the way they want, but they cannot expect the government to do everything for them. You can't sit at home and expect somebody to come and spoon feed you or expect somebody to dash you money like that. No. You first of all make a move. Then, is for example, they normally do it in my country, so we not even go to work, so we not even do anything. They pray from morning to afternoon, hoping that God will intervene. But God cannot intervene if there is no working process to show that you're doing something. So if we can do that as a dancer, then we're heading somewhere. Now I'm coming down towards my conclusion. Then we're going to look at the sequels that guides a dancer. One, a dancer must carry himself as a communicator. You're not just going there because you want to perform. You have the information technology that you need to verify. You have the environment that people watching you that see you as a role model. You need to carry yourself as a disciplined person, not as anyhow person. Because whatever you say on stage, the difference between those in dramatic art, performing arts, and those in other professions is we tell our own stories with our body. Dance, do non-communicative movement. Drama, do communicative movement. So the same way you are a role model to people. So you need to carry yourself well. Two, do not allow information just to pass you by. Learn how to pick any information you see. Like I said earlier, observation. What people see and pass, don't just pass. Sit down and observe, and know what is coming out and what you are going to make use of it, the useful aspect of it. Then the next one, try to be very useful in your environment. Do not castigate people. Do not humiliate people because you are so opportune to see the four walls of the university. There are people who, not because of them, will not be where you are. So respect every person, every individual. He or she has something to contribute. So when it comes to environmental management, everybody you meet while trying to do your research contributes a lot to who you are or who you want to be. Then, and also as a dancer, do not do things because others do it. No. There must be a level of difference. They do it because they're not well exposed. They do it because they don't have the real information at the tip of their finger. They do it because they don't know what it means to respect the immediate environment. But you, as a dancer, as a researcher, as a scholar, you have everything at the tip of your finger. So you know how to differentiate from what is right and what is not right. So if they do anything, or those who go into bush burning, those who want to do anything, those who dump refuse anyhow, and those who pollute the environment, and the rest of them. For example, we have COVID-19 everywhere in the world, and the rule says let there be 2 meter social distancing, put on your face mask, and the rest of them. Wash your hands on, on daily basis, in minutes, in seconds. These are the environmental instructions. Health instruction is not left for you as a dancer to keep looking for a way to reawaken people's consciousness, to look for a way to tell them that this thing is not a child's play. In my country, I'm sorry to say this, they don't believe that COVID-19 is effective. To them, is just like a foreign story. If you come to my country now, we have millions of them who still flout the rules of COVID-19. People have shown the issue of wearing masks, they shake hands, they don't even wash their hands. To them, is a foreign disease and not an African man's disease. That's a very myopic ideology. So these are the things we're going to look at as a communicator to being a dancer. These are the things you do to reawaken people's consciousness. At this point, you bring them closer to you, to see you as a communicator, to value every information you are giving them, to know that the information you are giving is not just a map, rather their immediate environment serve as a choreographic metaphor. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Akas and Prof. Onder for presenting the two presentations relate each other. Prof. Onder could do already explain us about the city sustainability and how it relates to environment and information technology. And furthermore, Dr. Nicholas Akas already present us about how the sustainable development through the dance to environmental management, and in the same times, it relates to information and communication. If any kind of questions, comments, or any kind of confirmations, please raise your hand, or if you like, you can write down through the chat box. Yeah, we still have around 50 minutes for Q&A, so feel free to speak out about the questions, any comments, and any confirmations. Both our invited speakers still here on the Zoom application, Prof. Onder from Turkey and Dr. Akas from Nigeria. Even that we have different times, both of them in Nigeria and in Turkey. We thankfully that our colleague from Turkey and Nigeria would like to join us as a Makassar 8 hours ahead of GMT. So please raise your hand or type on the chat box and let us know your name and affiliation and where to address the questions, both Prof. Onder or Dr. Akas or any single of them. So I would like to invite anyone in the floor, in the Zoom application to raise the questions. Yeah, if still waiting the questions, I would like to read here from the chat two questions. One for Prof. Onder and one from Dr. Akas. For Prof. Onder, it might be we can see the city in Turkey relate to European style of the city. And in the past, we can see Islam as one of the root and tradition of Turkey empire at that time. So would you like to share with us how the modern condition right now and Islam roots at the time. That's the first question. The second question for Dr. Akas, dance, it seems that as a role of the artist, how we can manage the dance and the arts as the expertise, or how to enhance and extend the dance as the tools to extend the environmental awareness. For the first time, from Onder, times is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Ismail.
For those who join our Zoom, would you like to control your mic, please? Shirley, would you like to unmute your microphone, please?
Halo, guys.
Ibu Shirley, tolong mic-nya di nonaktifkan. Ya, okay. Prof. Onder, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, related to the question of Islam and modern city life, I can talk about Turkey. We have, fortunately, population growth rate is very high, considerably high. I mean, especially compared to Europe. Therefore, we have so many, cities which have been built.
Hello, guys.
Therefore, because of this crowd and the need for human beings, apartment buildings, they pose a kind of threat for the Muslims to live their, to keep their privacy, and at the same time to maintain their lives. But in the past, according to some scholars in the field, they say that according to Islamic types of urbanization, especially buildings, they respected privacy, and at the same time they respected neighbors, they respected, for example, people living in close proximities. But at the moment, because of modern life, unfortunately, these apartment buildings and the buildings for the people, they do not respect these kind of privacy issues. Therefore, Turkey is also in an earthquake zone. Therefore, recently the government started an initiative to restructure cities in many cities, including Istanbul, because Istanbul has the risk of facing earthquake. Therefore, especially the buildings which do not meet the standards required by the law in terms of strength in earthquake times, they are being demolished, and the new types and new style to build houses, they keep the standards, especially for for the modern day life, modern city life, and also as Muslims keeping privacy at the same time. Therefore, there are huge projects in the country, millions of houses, they are being demolished, and then new contractors, new constructions, they have been started throughout the country. I can say that this modern city life, very hectic. People are running from one place to another, a very limited time because of distances between the city. They try to keep their privacies and they try uh, to save their lives, travel times, and therefore there are so many opportunities for their social and cultural gatherings, for their existence as a kind of as a Muslim. So I can say that there are a lot of struggles by the side of government and by the side of local authorities to establish cities, to re-establish, to regenerate cities in order to meet the standards required for their health and wealth and also their beliefs. Okay, I can say for the time being.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Onder. Dr. Akas, times is your.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a question. How are we going to manage dance as a tool for environmental awareness? Like I said earlier during my presentation, that at this stage that we're trying to create environmental awareness, people people should understand. I'm having my voice is echoing back. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Go ahead, sir. The
Okay.
sound is
Okay.
clear right here.
Okay. For us to how we can use dance as a tool is, first of all, we need to have people who want to see themselves as dancers. We have a lot of dancers in Nigeria, but we don't have those who are dance communicators. Because while trying to communicate with dance, you don't just dance because you want to entertain yourself in a birthday, you want to go to club to exercise yourself and the rest of them. No. In communicative dance, you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to be a tool for sensitization. You're trying to be a tool for creating an awareness. So we need to have people who see themselves as communicators. We need to have people who see themselves as researchers through dance. So once we have such people, then we can begin to appreciate dance as a tool for environmental awareness. That is one. Two, we need to have dancers or choreographers who create movements to mirror the environment. The way we dance in our social lives is different from the way we want to use dance as a tool for environmental awareness. Every movement you create, every body, the drumming and the air and the rest of them, the costumes must reflect the environment. So we must have choreographers who will mirror the environment and see themselves as storytellers. So that is the way we can use dance as an environmental awareness. Then we must have people again who should debunk the ideology of money as a means of trying to tell a story. Sorry, I'm from a country that everything is quantified by how much you can pay. So because of people find it very difficult, I'm not trying to say that earning a living through dance is not good, but that should not be the priority. That should not be the main thing. We should have those who we should have those who can sacrifice themselves, who can go any length to first of all achieve the maximum aim, then begin to look for what will come after, and not starting with how much are you going to pay me or what will you pay. Then that is it. We need to have organizations who will leave normal conferences and normal seminars and look for entertainers to use them as a means of communication. The NSAS protest in Nigeria started with two popular notable artists, Charles, the bad guy, and one other person. They were just discussing it. They said, we're going to do a protest against police, NSAS, and police brutality. And let's try to do a road walk. They just posted it on social media. Another important aspect of information technology. They posted it on social media. Before they could know it, people started coming out in thousands. They thought it's only in Lagos State. You know, it went around the 30 states of the country. So these are the things you are going to look at. As an entertainer, as a dancer, you are a mass mobilizer. You are somebody that is ready to be a leader, a frontliner, while others will follow you. Once we have such choreographers, we have such people with the mindset of changing the narrative of what it used to be to what it is now, trying to awaken people's consciousness, not to abuse the environmental use there, and also trying to awaken people environment consciousness that whatever they do, there must be a first-hand information. You cannot be a scholar, you can't be a researcher, you can't be a lecturer if you are not in tune with the most recent information. There are some textbooks you have read 30 minutes ago. In the next 2 seconds, a different version and edition of that same textbook will be what published. So all you need to do is to update yourself with what is current. So once we have all these, then we can make dance as a means of environmental awareness. Thank you.
Thank
Hello.
you, Prof. Onder and Dr. Akas already answered the first questions. So anyone in the Zoom application, feel free to raise your hand or type any questions. Still, we have at least 30 minutes ahead for the Q&A sessions, since both our colleague here from Turkey and from Nigeria could share with us the experiences from Turkey and Nigeria. You can raise your hand, open your mic, and at the same times, I would like to invite everyone to type on the chat box any questions, comment, or confirmation from the both presentation. Don't forget to introduce your name and affiliations, and let us know where the questions goes to make it easy for the answer. Okay, I would like to read another two questions, both of for Prof. Onder and Prof. Dr. Akas for these questions. The first question is how the sustainable development relate to our university management responsibility, since not only about the sustainable development, and at the same times we are doing a lot about teaching and learning, research and community service, and at the same times it is the recent demand about the publications. The second questions is how the every lectures make sure that to manage the environmental management, and at the same times we have ways of IT, information and technology, and now in the pandemic situation we don't have a lot of choices to do it, because we have circumstances. We should not have any the real class, but it is a virtual class. So every country, every situation have their own problem. So it might be a good chance for us to listen from the experience of Turkey and experience of Nigeria, how the university management during the pandemic situations. We will start from Prof. Onder. Time is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much again. Sustainable development, relations between sustainable development and university management. I mean, university management requires governance, requires cooperation, collaboration with all the all interested actors and stakeholders in the community. Therefore, university provides teaching, research and development activities, and also they have to provide certain responsibilities, fulfill certain responsibilities related to the communities. Community and university, they establish a kind of environment, an atmosphere to foster scientific activities, and at the same time to provide certain solutions to the needs of human beings. As we all experience this pandemic, which affects entire population, the entire world, therefore, especially during these kind of situations, these kind of circumstances, pandemic, for example, it's a major health issue, but at the same time, it's an issue of economical sectors, employment, education, society, etc. Therefore, the university management, they have to cope with all these issues, cover all with these issues, because as I already mentioned, universities, they have the responsibility to deal with the problems of their students and staff, but at the same time, to provide solutions for the societies. For example, during this time, application of, for example, virtual environment and online conferences, online publications, online research and development activities, they have been promoted by, for example, our universities and by our regulatory organization, which is named as Turkish Higher Education Council. Therefore, the universities, they have to adopt their positions, their tools and management activities according to the needs of the time. As the Germans say, they say, Zeitgeist, spirit of the time, we need to move quickly, therefore, to teach and also provide research and development activities. I can say with a quite reasonable degree of confidence that Turkish universities, they have been able to do these things in a quite reasonable way, because we have a regulatory and also a supervisory authority, as I mentioned, Turkish Higher Education Council. Therefore, Turkish Higher Education Council, they provided rules and regulations and the facilities for the university teaching staff and for the university management to adopt these kind of measures for their lives. So Turkey has been lucky because of this institution and because of the infrastructure provided that these universities, especially recently for the 20 or 30 years or so, they have been, because of some projects, for example, the European project, Erasmus project, and Bologna project, Bologna reform project, for example, which is to reform higher education institutions of Turkey to establish a comparable, a basic, a comparable and providing a certain threshold for the universities to meet. I served as a Bologna promoter, promoted by European Union. I worked for 2 years from 2008, 2010 as Bologna promoter to reform the university structure in order to to establish a university which is compatible with the standard set by European level. Therefore, it was a good opportunity for myself and for all the universities to mobilize, to establish accountable and flexible arrangements for the needs of the society and for the needs of the scientific community, academic community. Therefore, I can say that these activities, research and development activities, as well as environment development, teaching, publications, and providing solutions for the society, universities, they have the prime responsibility because we are at the spot of the society. We are quote unquote elites of the society. We have to prioritize, we have to initiate certain policies in order for the society to advance, for the society to find their ways. So we have a very big responsibility, as I can see so many colleagues in the attending the conference, to keep ourselves alive and to keep our methodology reliable for the scientific and academic activities. So, in short, this pandemic has some advantages as well. As we see from now, I am sitting in my house, very comfortable, and therefore I can meet all the people from different parts of the world. This is a very good opportunity, and we have to facilitate these kind of opportunities and these kind of new advantages for the community, for ourselves, to meet and at the same time to share our experiences. So university management and university administrations, they have this potential. So we are human beings. We get used to very difficult positions, situations, and also very reliable and very convenient situations at the same time. So we need to strive for better academic and quality academic publications. We need to strive for a better development of ourselves first, and then to serve for our communities and human beings. I think that's all.
Thank you, Prof. Would you like to explore more about the Bologna? Yeah, what's the message of Bologna Charter?
Yeah, Bologna Charter refers to a European-wide, initially European-wide, but now outside European countries, they can be a part of this Bologna process. It is to establish universities which forms the part of European higher education area. It means on initially European at European level, but now outside European countries, they can be a part of this initiative to reform university and academic atmosphere in order to meet the levels set by outside the Bologna area. In other words, Bologna refers to a higher education reform in order to make this reform compatible and competitive structure for these universities, to make these universities have a same kind of understanding. Although universities and nations, they can have their own curriculums. This is nothing to do with this, but for example, a degree obtained from Turkey has to be accepted by Germany, by other Bologna universities, because we have European ECTS, for example, European Credit Transfer Accumulation and Transfer System. Therefore, it is based on workload of students. So about 30 hours of work of a student equals to 1 credit. So this make the universities have the same level of working, same understanding. Therefore, we have, for example, we provide diploma supplements. If for each of every student, they can get a diploma supplement. So it's a kind of diploma. He or she can take it in 2 languages, in Turkish and in English. So he or she can take it to any European universities. Therefore, they see that these students has certain level of knowledge, at least minimum degree of studies completed by these students. Therefore, he or she can be accepted to further education, for postgraduate education, and also he or she can be offered jobs easily at this European higher education area. So I was the promoter for 2 years, from, as I said, 2000 to 2010, but I am still promoter, because once you get this title, I am invited to the universities to, if they would like to reform their universities, and if they would like to check the level of education, etc., they invite me from all over the country. I go, and if they ask me to observe, if they ask me to review their structures and their paperwork and all these things, I go and fulfill this responsibility. It's a kind of my responsibility to travel around the country to promote this Bologna charter and Bologna process. So we established in my previous university, in Selçuk University, I was also a Bologna coordinator and the coordinator of international office and Erasmus programs, because Erasmus is a part of this. Erasmus, we send students to European universities, and they can also send their students to Konya in order to continue to fulfill a part of their studies, 1 semester or 2 semester, 1 year. So they can come here, they work, they continue their works here in Konya, and then when they go back to their respective countries, they continue their education. They do not lose any kind of time, they just continue. So these kind of students exchange, staff exchange, and a kind of other activities, they are financed by this initiative. So it's a kind of combined initiative in order to have at least a minimum level of universities. For example, when you look at United States universities, they have very, very top universities, but they have very, very primitive, very, very, I mean, because they don't have a kind of central control of the universities. They don't have a kind of central supervisory authority. So very good and very bad universities, they are in the United States. But in Turkey, we have a minimum level, a threshold. All the universities, they are required to be above this level. So Bologna process requires a kind of threshold. So universities and university teaching staff and students, they have to meet a certain criteria to be able to continue their studies. There are 8 cycles. First of all, preschool education and primary education, secondary education, higher education, and short cycle means 2 years university, colleges, and 4 years second cycle, and master degree 7th cycle, and the last cycle is PhD. So all the education are classified and defined. Therefore, universities and all the students know that I mean, this Bologna group, they all know that students and universities, they have a certain degree of knowledge, uh, so they can make sure that students, they get at least a minimum degree of education. So this is the Bologna. I can talk hours and hours, but maybe in another conference I can explain, because it provides very good opportunities for both for Bologna group and for outside Bologna, at least because they have been working on this issue for more than 20 years. So it's a kind of knowledge. So we can make use of this knowledge to reform our structures and our ways of academic activities.
Thank you, Prof. Founder. It is a broad explanation about the Bologna and the university responsibility and for the previous two questions. So I would like to invite once more Dr. Akas to answer the two questions that I already read about. So time is yours, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead, sir. It is clean and clear.
Okay, I want to appreciate Prof for that explanation on Bologna, and also I want to tell Prof, if it's possible, I would like to be a member of the Bologna, if he doesn't mind. Okay, that is one. And also I would like to plead to Prof, if it's possible, for them to extend their visit to Nigerian universities. We still have a long way to go. Things are not moving well here in Nigeria, I must confess. During this pandemic period, the university management and the society, they were not functional at all. At the point, because if you've been following the national dailies or maybe watching the TV or the CNN, here in Nigeria, we've been on strike. The lecturers have been on strike since March this year, and university is under lock and key. They have not called off the strike. Okay, because of that, the university management is a little bit handicapped. The students are not there for them to run the day-to-day activities. But that doesn't mean that the research is not going like the way Prof explained. We have to fall back to the visual, to the Zoom, and all the visual network for us to do our conferences and do the required research. But in the issue of trying to use the media, this pandemic affected us much here in Nigeria. It affected us in the sense that before now, there was no initial plan for online lectures. The issue of online lectures, the issue of online tutorials and the rest of them was a little bit sounding foreign to Nigerian lecturers and even the university management in total. Those who can afford the online management are for the private universities owned by well-to-do individuals here in Nigeria. But the public universities, one, the lecturers are not well paid. An average lecturer in Nigeria find it very difficult to live in a good house, or even to drive a good car. So, and also they find it very difficult to have access to other things that people enjoy in developed countries, like health facilities and other insurance and the rest of them. So the pandemic issue really affected us. Aside the pandemic, the issue of Zoom conference and the rest of them is a total new ideology in Nigeria. So imagine since March this year, 2020 to today, being November, there is no lecture going on anywhere in Nigeria except the private universities. And at a point, the federal government was even threatening to sack all the lecturers in Nigeria because they were demanding for their rights. They have had several meetings or one meeting or the other, trying to seek for the attention of the federal government to pay the lecturers well so that they can afford good living. And for example, here in Nigeria, there is no funding for conference. For if this Zoom conference happen to be a live conference and I'm invited over to give a lecture, it will be very difficult to travel because there is no room for that. So from the little salary you earn, you still find a way to go for all these conferences, do your research, write your paper for publications and the rest of them. So the pandemic, based on environmental management, really affected us here in Nigeria. But we believe that as time goes on, like Prof said, there's also an advantage, is a little bit advantageous because we can now go back and put our house in order. Put our house in order in the sense that we start looking towards using the information technology to start doing lectures. There was a time it was raised up that people should go home and write exams at the comfort of their home and the rest of them. Millions revolted against that. But I believe at the end, we'll surely get there. But this pandemic really affected us. We pray that we have a change of perception here in Nigeria. And also, I want to plead to Prof, if the Bologna Committee can visit our country, Nigeria, then we know that we still have a long way to go. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Prof. Founder and Dr. Akas, about the response of the two questions. We are in the end of this keynote speaker sessions. Before we close our session, I would like to invite every keynote speaker to have a closing statement. We still have at least 11 minutes. If you like, both of you can have 3 to 5 minutes each other before we close. So I would like to invite once more Dr. Nicholas Akas to present a closing statement or concluding remarks of the keynote speaker. Dr. Akas, time is yours. It's Dr. Akas still with us, or any bad network over there? Yeah. We lost contact with Dr. Akas, but we still have with Prof. Founder. So Prof. Founder, if you like, we have 3 to 5 minutes for closing statement or concluding remarks or any kind of the closing for this session. So time is yours, Prof. Founder.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Prof. Ismail. It's always a pleasure to talk to colleagues and friends from Indonesia. This is a very good opportunity for me to meet brothers and sisters from Indonesia to share our experiences, and therefore I would like to thank Prof. Ismail for inviting me to be with you this Saturday morning. Therefore, I mean, these kind of conferences, they provide a kind of vehicle to exchange views and also to meet with other colleagues and friends from different parts of the world. Therefore, I am really delighted to be with you this morning. My email address is I think with Ismail, and I can also write it to the chat box if anyone who would like to contact or need any kind of help from Turkey or for other purposes, you are always welcome. Therefore, my email is I already posted. So I mean, for my last remark for the last question. These and the pandemic times, they provide opportunities. I am a true believer of this. There are also some obstacles, some threats to our lives, to our works, but I found it very convenient for myself to review my works. For example, during staying at home, I had time. I could find time to review my articles, to review my studies, in order to cope with the developments which continue in public administration, in social sciences. Because as we all experience, we need to, from time to time, we need to question ourselves, our methodology, our studies. So this has been a good opportunity for myself to review my views, to review my studies, because the change is happening now at the moment. We are witnessing very important developments in the world. So as they call it a new normal, this is new normal. Therefore, we have to get used to these kind of activities, online activities, and also to review our studies and ways of life. I mean, finally, I should say that I am fortunate to meet you this morning, and also I am fortunate to be able to share my experiences with you. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and your families, because families are important. We have also re-noticed these values. So please take care of yourself, and I would like to, I am hoping to meet you again in some other conferences. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Prof. already present the closing remarks of our sessions. I would like to invite Dr. Akas to present any closing statement, concluding remarks as to remarks the end of our session today. Time is yours, sir.
Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for doing that time before. It wasn't intentional, just the network issue here. I'm happy to be selected as one of the guest speakers in this wonderful conference. It's not easy, like what Prof just said. This is the new normal. We must surely get used to it. Like what I said earlier, we are not used to this Zoom form of conference here in Nigeria. But because of the pandemic and the experience, we are now welcoming the new normal. We are very much at it. Okay. My suggestion is that no matter what we do as scholars, as those in university, we should learn how to keep our head above the water, and also become research oriented. What differentiates us from other sort of people and for us to go into our different study room and sit down and think of something. During this pandemic, I'm a dancer by profession. My first degree, my master's, my PhD, everything about me is dance. I may say that so it's giving room for me to sit down and try to review some of the things I've done in the past, trying to know how art and humanity can come in contact and be able to achieve something positive and still stay on the same pedestal. I'm very happy, but we need to be very careful with this pandemic era. We need to watch it, all the rules given to us. I'm always available when I'm invited through Zoom or physical to come and give, to talk to people like this. I'm 100% available. I want to say big thank you. Here in Nigeria is need money. I want to say big thank you for those who invited me. I also want to assure them that I'm always available anytime, any day. Thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Akas and Prof. Onder. We have a fruitful discussions through the platform Zoom applications since we have the first international conference on on information and technology and environmental management. It is conducted by graduate program of AMKOP School of Business. We do apologize during any kind of presentations there is any kind of error, and it is a honor for us that we can share with Prof. Onder from Turkey, Necmettin Erbakan University, and we have our colleague from Nigeria, Dr. Nicholas Akas, and this is a forum of interdisciplinary. Since last night, we invite a friend from marine perspective, today from public administrations, and we have our colleague as the art and humanities Danes. So we can enrich each other. This is a platform of the university where any kind of the department can come and share each other. We are in the end of the sessions. Thank you very much of us. Don't forget to fill out the presents links over there. So Dr. Akas, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Is there anything like a certificate of participation for this conference given to the speakers?
Okay, you can contact me through my WhatsApp number. I will send you the invitation letter once again, certificate and a memento of appreciation for you, both of you, Prof. Onder and Dr. Akas.
Okay, I'll be waiting for your WhatsApp number. I will type my number now, so you can use it to get me on WhatsApp.
Okay. Thank you very much for this fruitful session. For those who are Muslim, we could close our session by reciting Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you very much, everyone. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everyone is dismissed and you can continue activity since we are in Makassar going for Maghrib.